We're on to one of my absolute favorite parts of every one of these videos I do when I cover a new book, and that is new magic items. For Mythic Odysseys of Theros, we do have several new magic items, as well as artifacts tied to the gods. So if you want to see what those new items are, stay tuned. Who knows what wonders are held inside? It's dice. This is a dice tray. What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and let's jump over to D&D Beyond and get right to it. So first of all, this art is awesome. Also, I don't know why, but this like Leonin in the background, it just looks out of place to me. He just looks off, right? Where he's like it looks too human-y for this lion. Like it is legitimately, it doesn't even look like a cat folk. It looks like a legit lion head, and then he's just like scratching his head like a human. It just, I don't know, it just looks weird to me. But I love this art of this like Triton tinkerer kind of outfitting this female satyr with wings, right? This is a very Icarus, Daedalus workshop kind of a thing going on. I think that that's really cool. Also, to the folks who were commenting about I didn't think there were female satyrs because satyrs and naiads and dryads and all that other stuff. This is obviously a Magic the Gathering universe, so I don't know what the rules are there as far as male and female satyrs go, or satyrs and satyress. I forget the technical terminology, but it's also Dungeons and Dragons, and if people want to play a female character, or someone that identifies as a female character as a satyr, they have the option to do that. The art clearly dictates you can play either male or female characters. Anyway, so let's talk about magic items. They do talk a little bit about gifts of the gods, so I guess we'll talk about that a little bit. As a DM, feel free to make ordinary magic items feel like they have significant history or purpose. Even a +1 spear might have been carried by a company of hoplite veterans that went missing during their last quest to reach the edge of the world. Wands might be crafted from legendary sources, while potions might bear the seals of famed alchemists, or include signature reagents, like a Pegasus feather and a potion of flying. Remarkable Origins table offers a few ways to suggest a magic item's remarkable pedigree without altering its magical properties. Certain treasures might also be objects of heroic quests. They mention the Nyx Fleece Ram, which is essentially like the golden fleece of Greek mythology. But let's take a look at this Remarkable Origins. So let's do that +1 spear, right? We'll do that +1 spear, and we'll roll this d12. See what we get. 11. So it lies in a crater as it fell from the heavens. Okay, so this spear fell from the heavens and lies in a crater. It's a +1 spear, but now it's infinitely cooler because it has this story behind it. But if it was me, I also wouldn't just make it a +1 spear. Like if it fell from the heavens, right, it's got to have some sort of cool thing going on for it, especially if that makes it seem like it's a god's weapon. Like what god's wielding a +1 spear? Shouldn't they have something cooler? So maybe you give it some additional little property, even if it's just from that table in the beginning of the magic item chapter of the DMG. Or maybe, something like it has a throne range, or it comes back because it fell from the heavens. I don't know. Anyway, new magic items. Flying Chariot. This is a rare magic item. It gives anyone, the creatures pulling it and the rider of the chariot, a +1 AC. And if it is pulled by a flying creature, it can fly. It's pretty straightforward, right? A typical chariot, which do exist in the in the player's handbook, I believe. Yes, it says chariots and creatures pulling them work like controlled mounts as described in the mounted combat rules in the player's handbook, but with the following differences. Mounting or dismounting a chariot costs 5 feet of movement rather than a number of feet equal to half your movement speed. Being mounted on a chariot grants you half cover. A chariot's speed is equal to the speed of the slowest creature pulling it. So, right, if you have a donkey that has a 35-foot movement speed and a warhorse with a 60-foot, it got to go the lesser one. If multiple creatures are pulling the chariot, they all act on the same initiative, and they must take their same action on their turn, right? So if you had that donkey and the horse scenario, they act together, and that's kind of how that works. That makes sense to me. I don't actually know if these chariot rules are in the player's handbook, because I believe in the mounts section at the end of the equipment section in the player's handbook, they do have chariots listed, like you have, carts and wagons, and I think chariots are listed there. If I click on the plate, you know what? Why don't we just figure this out for ourselves here? So expenses, mounts and vehicles. Chariot. Okay, so a chariot is listed here. It does not have anything. Yeah, so it just lists a chariot. You see that? It just says barding, bit bridle, carriage, cart, chariot. So it doesn't actually give you any rules for chariots here in the player's handbook. Maybe there's like some rules squirreled away in the Dungeon Master's Guide. If not, this is the first official chariot rules we have, which makes sense. All of that makes sense. And then again, the flying chariot, the simplest thing about it is, unlike a regular chariot, if it's pulled by a flying creature, right? So in theory, two Pegasi pulling a regular chariot, that thing just dangles down below as they're flying. It's not designed to go with them. So if they have a flying chariot, it goes with them and it has its other benefits of the +1 AC. And then we have some art of a flying chariot right here, right? This is also, you know, like the Sun Chariot was a big Apollo thing, so that might tie into the Magic the Gathering universe as well. We have the Helm of the Gods. This is really cool because it's one magic item that has, you know, there's also not a ton. You can see here there's only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total magic items in this book, and one of them is a potion, not including the artifacts. But the Helm of the Gods is multiple items rolled into one because it's based on the god that you're kind of aligned with. While wearing this helm, you know whether there's a celestial fiend within 30 feet, as long as it's not behind total cover. When you finish a long rest, you can pray to one of the gods in the helm. And then it basically acts like a spell-storing helm, storing a spell in there, replacing whatever was in there previously. And the DC is 13. It has 3 charges. You can expend a charge to cast a spell from it. It gains a D3 charges back at dawn. What's interesting is it's not necessarily the god that you belong to, as it were. You can pray to a god that's in this list. So even if you worship Athreos, you could pray to Heliod and get the item that the spell that comes from them. So that kind of explains that a little bit. So here we can see the list, right? So basically it's going to go down the list of the gods on the left, and I'll go down the spells on the right. So protection from evil and good, sanctuary, inflict wounds, guiding bolt, heroism, goodberry, thunderous smite, entangle, dissonant whispers, hellish rebuke, fairy fire, lesser restoration, charm person, searing smite, and identify. That is a very diverse list of spells. They are also, with the exception of, I think, just lesser restoration, they're all first level spells. Yeah. Right, first. Yeah, so with the exception of lesser restoration, they're all first level spells. But as you can see, it is a very diverse set of spells. So you could use this daily to get very useful things to the scenario you're in, right? Goodberry is going to feed your party, kind of working like lembas bread if you're unfamiliar with the spell, but it also is going to give you healing capabilities. Then you have options like Charm Person. Identify is very useful, especially if you don't normally have it. Right, Guiding Bolt give you some range. Heroism, if you know you're going up against something that has fear effects. Like, you have a lot of good benefits here, and basically it's whenever you finish a long rest, you can pray to a new god, and then you get the spell. Right, they don't have to make any roll. You pray to one god listed in the Helm's list and the stored list. Yeah, so that's how it is. So you can, and it doesn't seem like, now maybe your DM will have some sort of things for you, like if you belong to one god and you pray to that god's, the antithesis of that god to get the spell, maybe there's some piety lost there, I don't know, but ultimately that's up to you. Molten Bronze Skin, I also really like this magic item. This is armor, and it is either a breastplate, half plate, or plate mail. It requires attunement. So first of all, again, this is one magic item that's technically 3 different pieces of magic items, right? 3 different types of armor. When you attune to it, the bronze adheres and contours to your skin. It can actually be worn under normal clothes and doesn't impede your bodily functions in any way. Once you put it on, it can't be removed unless you choose to do so. You also have fire resistance while wearing it, and it doesn't impose disadvantage on stealth checks. So essentially, if you get Molten Bronze Skin plate mail, you have plate mail, mithril plate mail of fire resistance that you can wear under normal clothes. So this is like This is like Lord of the Rings mithril mail because you can wear it under your clothes and it doesn't matter, and it functions exactly like that. So this is very cool. I very much like this. And then again, this concept of this sort of it appears as a jug of molten bronze. So like you're basically like, bloop, and it pour it over yourself, and now you're covered in cool metal armor. I think that that's an awesome visual. I think, you know, like this is definitely one of those, like, when your party finds this is going to be huge and super cool. I think it might lose some of its uniqueness if this shows up multiple times throughout the campaign and multiple players have it. It's not as cool. So in my mind, I think this is like a one person's in the party is going to get this armor. That's just me, but it also could be a cool concept to do multiple versions. This is molten bronze skin. Maybe you do molten silver skin, molten gold skin, molten adamantine skin, and you can play around with the different properties. I really like it. Potion of Aqueous form. This is a rare potion. When you drink it, you can transform into a pool of water. I call this the Alec Mack potion. Yep, that's for all of you out there who remember the Secret World of Alex Mack. You return to true form after 10 minutes, or if you're incapacitated or you die. While in the following form, while under the effects, you can do the following things. Liquid movement. You have a swim speed of 30 feet. You can move over or through other liquids. You can enter and occupy the space of another creature. You can rise up to your normal height, and you can pass through even tiny objects. You extinguish normal flames in any space you enter, right? So there's your Alex Mack movement there. You have resistance to non-magical damage. You also have advantage on strength, dexterity, and constitution saving throws. Limitations, though: you can't talk, attack, cast spells, or activate magic items. Any object you are carrying or wearing meld into your new form and are inaccessible, though you continue to be affected by anything you're wearing, such as armor. So like if you have any AC of 23 from your armor, you have an AC of 23 in your liquid form. The only thing is you don't return to your normal form until you're either incapacitated, die, or after 10 minutes pass. So you can't voluntarily end this effect. So in my mind, this is definitely like a recon potion or a hiding potion, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into water to hide. Although, fun fact, you are liquid. You cannot breathe underwater, from what I'm understanding, right? You transform into a pool of water, you have a swim speed, you can move through other liquids, but nowhere does it say you can breathe underwater. I'm assuming you have to be, because you are literally made of water, so you have to be able to breathe. But like if you did this and jumped into a pool of water, in theory, you can't breathe in that pool of water. So that's kind of dumb. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but it doesn't tell me. So the rules aren't supposed to try to trick you. So I don't know. But again, I see this as more of like a recon thing, right? Or like an escape thing. We need to get out. We can turn into water to get out. We need to get in, that kind of a thing. Pyxis of Pandemonium. This is a legendary magic item. A creature that touches this ornate. This is the Pandora's box, I think, basically. A creature that touches this ornate wooden vessel for 1 minute gains the benefits of a short rest for 1 minute, and this is not a 2 minute, mind you. The creature also gains the benefit of the Bless spell until they finish a short or long rest. They can't gain benefits again until they finish a long rest. If the vessel is open, roll on the Pyxis of Pandemonium table to determine what happens. Any spell cast by the vessel has a DC of 17. 1 minute after it's opened, it disappears. It reappears sealed in a random location on the same plane of existence within 24 hours. And there is a curse associated with this magic item. Any creature that gains the benefit of a short rest from the vessel hears cloying telepathic whispers emanating from it. The creature must make a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is charmed by the vessel for 1 hour. The charmed creature does everything it can to open the vessel as soon as possible. On a successful save, the creature is immune to the vessel's whispers for 24 hours. We have a D8 table there. We're going to roll on our Pyxis of Pandemonium table, see what happens. What happens when I open the box? We get an 8. The vessel casts Otto's Irresistible Dance spell on each creature within 30 feet. So we're just dancing for a minute. That's not the worst thing in the world. Like, that's, you can't do too much. But some of these other things is like maze, which is pretty brutal. because maze lasts for 10 minutes, and I've been in a situation where a character's been put under the maze spell and they can't actually get out of it even if they roll a natural 20 on the die. But yeah, very cool. I like it here. You can kind of see it happening here. It's a Pandora's box scenario. I like it. Now, the Siren song Lyre is rare. You can use an action to play this lyre and cast one of the following spells from it: Animal Friendship, Charmed Person, Enthrall, Suggestion. They each have a save DC of 13. Once the instrument has been used to cast a spell, it can't be used to cast that spell again until the next dawn. I like this, the save DC being so low and the 4 spell options. I almost would make this non-attunement. I think that, I guess that's probably too strong, but I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the Ring of Animal Influence, which is non-attunement in a way, so I don't know. It's cool, though. You know, it was very fitting for a satyr-type character. I mean, I guess it should be pipes, though. And then we have Sling Bullets of Althemene, I'm going to guess. They're very rare, and these are pretty cool, right? So these Sling Bullets come in a pouch. They contain a D4 plus 4 bullets. Roll on the Sling Bullets table for each bullet to determine its magical property. You'll have a +2 bonus to attack and damage roll with these bullets. If a bullet misses its target, the bullet teleports back into the pouch, which is pretty cool. And once a bullet hits its target, the bullet loses its magic. So you can always have these. You don't lose them. If you missed, you just get them back. But they each do something cool. So let's roll a d4 and see what we get. 3. Stunning. On a hit, the bullet deals an extra 1d10 force damage, and the target is stunned until the end of your next turn. Tracking is the creature takes damage. It's marked with a glowing rune. The mark lasts for 24 hours. When marked, you always know the direction to it. And it's interesting that these are non-attunement, so that's a big benefit. Fulguration, it takes an extra 2d8 lightning damage. All other creatures within 10 feet of it must make a con save or take thunder damage. And then Banishment is a DC 15 charisma save or be affected by the Banishment smell. Banishment smell, folks. Banishment spell. This is interesting because typically this reminds me more of old edition wording. Because I feel like more often than not, we don't see too many things where like you do something and it tells you like, okay, this thing happens and they are under the effect of this spell, or as if they were affected by this spell. That's not super common in 5th edition. It does exist, but that's kind of interesting to see. So, right. And then I don't know if you are concentrating. It says must succeed on a DC 15 charisma save or be banished as though affected by the banishment spell. So I don't think you need to concentrate on that banishment. I think it just happens for a minute. So that's interesting. And then lastly, we have the 2 Birds Sling, which is even better if you pair the 2 Birds Sling with the Sling Bullets we just mentioned. This +1 sling, which is non-attunement, gives you a +1 to attack and damage rolls made with this sling. And when you make a ranged attack with this sling and hit a target, you can cause the ammunition to ricochet towards a second target within 10 feet of the first, and then make a ranged attack against the second target. So, in theory, if you, what says once a bullet hits a target, it loses its magic. Because I was going to say, in theory, these together could be really, really crazy. Because, like, let's say I hit one and then it ricochets and hits somebody else, I could get the benefits of that magic twice. But because it states if the bullet hits a target, the bullet loses its magic, it would lose it on the first one. Now, the second target sounds like it would still take the damage. You know, skipping over, they'd still take the regular damage. And I like that. That reminds me of, like, I think they were called skip rocks back in 3.5, which were like a halfling weapon that were, like, basically, like, rocks you would skip on the, like, on the water. But they were weapons, and if you hit somebody, you could skip them and hit other people next to them. Very cool. All right, and then we're on to the artifacts here. So, miraculous relics fill the tales of Theros. Among these, so how many artifacts do we have? We have 5 different artifacts. I was gonna, you know what? This video has gotten a little bit long at this point. I think we're gonna stop it here and just cover the regular magic items, and then I'll do another video on the artifacts. That way, you know, we'll get a lot of new folks coming to watch these. And let's be honest, shorter videos are more digestible. That's just how it is. Also, I'm recording these as fast as I can and putting them out almost one right after another. So the delay between this video and the next one won't be too long. So let me know what you think about these cool magic items. Probably one of the biggest detriments, I think, is that really cool art I mentioned at the beginning that shows the satyr getting the cool, like, Icarus-style wings. And that's not a magic item that's contained in this book. Now, maybe I missed it somewhere in an earlier chapter. Like I said, I'll go back and look through to see if there are new mundane items, like flying wings or something, added in. But I feel like that should have been a magic item. Maybe it's just me. And again, if you have gone and seen that there are additional mundane items added in throughout, like the lore-based chapters, please let me know, and I'll cover those in a video as well. Out of all of the things on here, I think the coolest one, definitely for me, was that Molten Bronze skin armor. I think that that's really, really cool. I really like the concept of that. But I also like that we finally got a magic sling. There are so many magic items that exist, or sorry, weapon types that exist in 5th edition that we don't have cool, unique versions. We have like 1,000 different magic swords, but like, there's no real, like, magic whip, right? You can get a magic whip, like a +3 whip or a vicious whip or a whip of warning, but there's no, like, unique magic whip other than, like, the artifact that was introduced in, the artifact introduced in Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, right? But for the first time ever, we have a unique magic sling, which is cool. I don't know how many people are ever going to use slings because of just the limited damage type. But, right, we have satyrs and a Greek mythology kind of thing going on, so slings may become of importance. Plus, again, the fact that this can get you 1 attack can technically get you 2 attacks, and if you're a fighter wielding a sling, you could really just spin up the amount of attacks you could do. Plus, if you manage to get those extra magic sling bullets, you could be doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And I actually kind of really like the concept of, like, a sling character, like, that you're designed to just use slings. It could be very fun, right? Because a sling can still benefit from sharpshooter, so there could be some really funky stuff going on. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I've been trying to get through as much of this as I can. So the way I see it is there's this video, there'll be the artifact video, there'll be the monster video, and that's pretty much the end of the Theros content, again, unless there's something really unique or interesting covered in the lore section that's not just Magic the Gathering Theros lore. And then after that's done, we're just going to return to regular Nerd Immersion content after that. I'll probably do a mounted combat video, just because, like, it came up in here and I realized that that's not something that everybody deals with, so it might be of interest. So once again, there is a giveaway link in the description for Mythic Odysseys of Theros here on D&D Beyond. You've seen me using it here. So I'll be giving away 3 copies of that. That giveaway runs for about 2 weeks. So all you have to do is go and do the Gleam typical giveaway stuff to enter to win those digital copies. And then I'll be giving away 2 separate copies live, one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday. And those are only during my live streams of my actual play content on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I wanted to do the Gleam giveaway for people who can't attend the live stream. The other ones are available for those who can be there, and it's usually a smaller crowd, so there's usually a higher chance to win. Plus, you get to watch me DM on Tuesday and play on Wednesday, so you get to see a little bit of me in both aspects of the game. So, thank you again to my patrons over on Patreon for continuing to support the channel. It's allowing me to do some more interesting things. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, well, I would appreciate it if you did so. I'm trying to hit 50,000 by my birthday in July, but you know what? If you don't want to subscribe, don't. But you might miss out on more videos, because with this stuff, I upload them at all sorts of crazy times, so you never know when it's going to happen. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.